Alright guys, it's been about a month since I've uploaded videos, so I figured might as well. Let's get right back into it. I've been really busy with a bunch of other projects. Been helping out a few friends with their builds too, so I really haven't had the time to put into the S2000 what I need to. But I want to give you guys a little bit of an update, kind of where we are with it. We have some new parts that have come in, and we're going to be installing them in this video. So first things first, I found a set of some 17 by 9.5 inch wheels on Facebook Marketplace for a couple $100. They were really rashed up and the black powder coat was fading and chipping away. So we went ahead and sanded them and just painted them white. They have 4 coats of white paint with 4 coats of clear, so that way they're going to be nice and durable. As well as we also picked up some fender flares for the rear. These are the ASM style fender flares. That's what we're actually going to be putting on today. And then I still need to put on the hood pins just to get this hood to latch up a little bit better, but I want to try and fix this dent right here before we get there. So that'll be later on. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, to install fender flares, if you've ever done it in the past, a lot of people do it and a lot of people do it wrong. I'm not saying the way I do it is the right way. There's better ways to do it. I just don't have the equipment to. A lot of people just basically chop the quarter panel and then tab up the metal inside of it and fold it up and throw a self-tapping screw in it. That's not what we're doing. The proper way to actually do it is to, once you bend up the metal, you weld all that metal shut, and then you weld it to the quarter panel, and then, you know, grind it down and clean it up, and then run seam sealer over it. Unfortunately, I don't have a welder, but the way I found to do it has been pretty good. This is actually the way I did it on the STI, as well as on our Evo 10. So the way is, once you fold the metal back up, to run seam sealer throughout all of it, let it dry up, and then spray it with some primer sealer as well. So that it's going to be just as good to prevent any sort of moisture to get in it. But again, if we had a welder, we'd do it the right way. That's the only thing I don't have in my garage. So to get started, what I always recommend is taping up the rear quarter panel, so that way you can mark everything and mark where your cuts are going to be, as well as take your wheel off. You don't want any of the sparks going onto your wheel and causing any damage that way. So we'll go ahead and pull this tape. Also, if you guys stick around, I'm going to show you the new paint color. We decided to not do that pink, no matter how many times I tried. I tried different base coats. I tried different, you know, amounts of layers to try and get it to be an aggressive looking color. I just wasn't a fan. So we actually found the guy that had some paint that he was not planning on using and wanted the color we had. So we traded straight across. So hang out till the end of the video and you'll see what that paint looks like. But from here, we're gonna set up a quick time lapse and let's start knocking this fender flare out. All right, once you're done masking it off, don't mind my masking job. My tape for some reason kept breaking apart, but it should look something like this. Like I said, for some reason my tape kept breaking off. It's not a big deal. We just need something where we can outline where we're gonna cut, which for these flares, thankfully they're not very big, so we don't need to cut a whole lot. Essentially, when we go to mount them, we're only gonna cut probably up to where my thumb is at, and then we can fold up the rest and seal it from there. Again, these flares aren't very big. We're not gonna be running some crazy wild wheel setup. It's gonna be a 17 by 9.5 plus 20 offset is kind of what I've decided is gonna look best on this car. Even just mocking it up with the fender flares just taped up, it actually looks pretty good. I feel like it fits pretty flush. A lot better than those 18 by 10.5 wheels that we had on that we thought we could run, but they were just too wide. As to these wheels that we have, actually fit perfect. And I mean, they're not the greatest, but they're gonna work for now, just while we get the car up and going. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and mock up the fender flare again so I can scribe out where we're gonna cut, and then we'll make our first cut. All right, once you scribe out where your fender flare is gonna sit, now from here, your basically your best rule of thumb to go off of is you don't want to cut too high, because if you cut too high, when you go to fold up those fins, you're not going to have a whole lot of material up here to mate together. And also, you really just don't want to chop off that much off the fender. I mean, unless you're running like a crazy wide wheel, I guess you can do what you want. But for me, the way I've always gone about it is I basically scribe out where it is, and I'll go down about halfway. So you don't have to be precise in this. Just, you know, I just kind of eyeball it. So from here, I'll go down to about halfway there, which will be kind of set us on that guy right there. And then we'll mark where we're gonna cut. Also, some cars are gonna be different. You're gonna wanna watch out for how far over you cut here, simply because the bumper tab, as we can see, may get in the way, and we still want that to secure to something. So for this case, we're probably gonna just finish our cut right down here. Still give us plenty of material to mount that bumper to. Again, we really don't want that to be sticking out, because if then, it's just not gonna look good. So that's how the bumper's gonna sit. So we're gonna just cut from here to over here, and then the metal piece under here will fold up, and we'll seam seal it, and then we'll cut it off. And again, you'll see how we work this out. Now, a lot of people use like an air saw or a full-blown angle grinder. Both great options. I wish I had a good air saw. My air saw, for some reason, it takes a lot longer. So my favorite tool to use when I'm cutting something is actually this little Ryobi hand grinder. I feel it works perfect. Our cutting disc is a little bit worn down, so let's put a new cutting disc on there, and it should make quick work of this. All right, now once you've made the initial cut and you've cut all the way through, you're gonna wanna grab just something flat, like a flathead screwdriver, get it in between there, and start prying the metal out. As we can see, we found a little surprise on this one. Look at that amount of Bondo. Yeah, it looks like last time this car was painted, yeah, look how you should not have that thick of a layer of Bondo. So yeah, we're gonna wanna pull this guy back, so that way we can cut it off. And that way we can slice up the inner metal to fold upward. Alright, we're gonna take a pause on putting on the rear flares. The battery on my angle grinder just died, so now we gotta let that charge, or else we're gonna be here all day. So in the meantime, I actually wanted to show you something neat. Those 18 by 10.5 inch wide wheels, the bronze ones that we test fitted on the S2000, that didn't quite fit the way we wanted it to. I threw them up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and they were on there for like a month. I initially wanted $650, which I thought was extremely reasonable, considering those wheels new are about $1,400, not including powder coat. Now, I've had those wheels for about 2 years, put a bunch of miles on them. They had no curb rash or bends or cracks or anything, but since I got a lot of use of them, I figured why not post them basically at half price, thinking they'll sell quick, right? I think I had them up for sale for a month, and the highest cash offer I had was $350, which, to be completely honest, that's how much one wheel costs brand new. They wanted all four for that price. Well, I kind of lost interest on it, put them in the back of the garage, and then somebody messaged me over the weekend and offered me a car for them. And you know me, I, for some reason, can't say no to projects, as we can clearly tell. The S2000, right? We finished the Lexus. We were daily driving the Lexus. The Lexus drove perfectly, and I figured, hey, let's just start over and pick up another, you know, beater car that we can make look pretty and start, you know, the whole process over again. So that's where we are with the S2000, right? Now, what car did I get offered for these wheels that I, for some reason, couldn't say no? It's this, a 2G Eclipse. It's a GS, so don't get your hopes up. It's not the turbo model. It's front-wheel drive. At least it's a manual, so we got that going for us. Here's my favorite part about it. It's got no motor. The motor's actually in the bed of the truck. I actually need to take it out and start working on dropping it in. I've never done a motor swap before, so this is gonna be a fun project. I'm still trying to decide what we're even gonna do with this damn thing. I'm either wondering posting it up for sale as it is and seeing if I can get a, you know, $400 or $500 for it, kind of make my money back that I was wanting for those wheels, or maybe we throw the motor in. Maybe we fix the front end, get a bumper, get headlights, throw, you know, just a simple paint job on it, and throw some decent wheels and tires and some lowering springs, and, you know, maybe we daily drive this for a little while. It's rough, you know, the bumper's destroyed, the headlights are in the car, they're split apart, windshield's cracked, paint completely gone. This door has a massive dent, same with the quarter panel. And oh yeah, we don't have door handles, so if you want to open the car, you gotta grab this guy and you gotta push it down. The door will open. Well, you can see it's a mess in there of parts. So thankfully it's only got a little bit of rust. To be completely honest, I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I think it's all surface. I can grind it down to bare metal, throw some sealer on it and be just fine. But yeah, this is gonna be kind of a side project. If I can get the motor in it, get it at least started, and then we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know why I said yes. Now we have way too many cars. We have the Evo, the Eclipse, the truck, the S2000, the STI. These two cars aren't ours. These are my friends that live with us. So yeah, we have 5 cars totaling at the house, and my fiance has a car over at her father's airplane hangar that we need to go pick up and get working on too. So I think that's a total of 6 cars between the two of us. Again, no idea why we need so many. So yeah, I'm either gonna sell this. So if somebody offers me, honestly, $500 for it, comes with a brand new motor that literally just got back from the machine shop getting put together, then come get it. If not, in the next, I don't know, month or two, I'll probably start working on it. I got to finish the S2000 first so I can get it out of the garage. I'm thinking about storing this over at Automotive Addiction here in Salt Lake City, Utah. That way I have some space in the garage, because I mean, I'm not going to drive this thing in the winter as much as I want to. And also thinking about putting the STI in there as well, just because it's getting layers of dirt all over it. So we want to keep it nice and pristine as it is. So we're thinking about storing these 2 cars over at Automotive Addiction. I need to reach out to them and see what the logistics are, so that way we can get started on the Eclipse, maybe make it something fun. I don't know, maybe we'll throw, you know, some eBay turbo kit on it and see how long it lasts, right? Either way, it'll be a fun project once we get to it. And yeah, again, I still don't even know why I said yes, but here we are. So all right, while we wait for that angle grinder to finish charging too, I actually wanted to show you guys the new paint color. Just a little spray out card. Something I do just because I don't like having to go to the body shop store and the auto body store, and pick up more spray out cards. I'll actually run over to Home Depot, and in their little paint section where you can see all the paint colors and you can get those little swatches, since they're free, I'll just go and snag a few of those. I'll pick up like a black if I wanted to simulate what it looked like with black sealer underneath. I'll pick up a gray, and I'll pick up a white, you know, that way I can see what it'll look like depending on what the ground coat is. So this is with a black. It's pretty dirty. I've kind of just been letting it sit around the garage, and I've been doing a lot of work, but this is what it looked like. It's kind of hard to tell from the video, but it's kind of like a midnight purple. It's not midnight purple 3 like the Nissan GTR. It's more of a like a BMW midnight purple. I'm not entirely sure what the actual paint code is. Over at this auto body store called Salt Lake Auto Paint, they mess up a bucket, they'll sell it for $99, just because I have no use for it. This is the one that the guy who traded us, he bought it from the same place I bought my Peak from, and he had no use for it, and well, traded me. And honestly, I think the S2000 would look great in a really dark purple. So this is it. Let's see if we can find some sun so you guys can see what it'll look like in the sunlight. So here it is in the sunlight. It's got a lot of sparkle to it, but yeah, I think it's a really good looking color. The cool thing is that in the sun, you get the purple, you get the shade. In the shadow, it almost looks black. We still need to address this massive dent I'm a little nervous about how we're gonna be able to take this out, to be honest. It's really like cratered in. I'm thinking the best way to do it is grind out all the paint and grab a stud gun, and with the slide hammer, try and get as much of it out. I'm worried that I'm not gonna be able to get the body line back into where it needs to go. You can see there's a whole fingertip gap. This body line is supposed to be lined up with this door right here. So that's kind of been my biggest concern. All the key marks, all that, I'm not worried about. That'll stand right out. Small dents like this, I'm not worried about that. I can pull that out pretty easy and then just body fill over. But I can't put too much body filler over this, or the exact same thing that's happened on the other side where we have that Bondo cracking is gonna happen again in, you know, probably a year's time. So I really want to try and fix this the right way, and that's kind of where I've been really just overwhelmed and just trying to do research and trying to find the best way to do it. I really don't want to have to cut the entire quarter panel and replace the entire quarter panel for something this small. So we're gonna brainstorm and see what's the best way to handle this situation. We still have to sand down the fenders. I already started working on it. I gotta mark out what areas need to be sanded and take the entire fender off and sand it all the way down. We still need to add material here, which I think the best way to do it is I'll probably grab like a little paint mixing stick and put it underneath, just so that way nothing falls out, and then just start adding layers on top of it. And then once we're done, take the paint stick off, and then it should be good to go. This side's really not that bad. I mean, could it use a little bit of material? Yeah, but I feel like the work and effort we have to put into that side to just make it a slight bit better is just not worth it, in my opinion. But I mean, again, we'll come to that conclusion as we get there. This dent right here, I'm honestly thinking about putting like a body hammer, putting it from the other side with a metal plate on the top, so that way it can try and even out, and we can fix that. But yeah, all just a bunch of, you know, little things here and there that is going to take some time. On top of that too, for the hardtop, when they mounted it, they put screws that were too long on the inside that started protruding and cracking out on the fiberglass itself of the hardtop. So if you look at it from this angle, you can see it bulges out. So we want to fix that. So we'll have to back the screws out, get shorter ones, sand this down as much as we can to get it flat again, and then put some fiberglass Bondo on it. On top of that too, we still need to take out the rear windshield. It's the plastic one, and honestly, it's a mess. You can't see out of this thing. It's a real safety hazard. This car used to have a wing on it, so we took the wing off, we sold it, and I actually had my father-in-law weld in all the holes, so they're all plugged. We still need to sand down. As you can see, there's just a lot of Bondo everywhere, so we need to sand all that down smooth and try and work the metal as much as we can to get it to be even, and then body fill where we need to, and, you know, again, do it with a very minimal amount so that way it won't crack. Then we still have this area that we need to take care of. This is, again, all just cracking Bondo that started coming up. So I need to get as much of this off as I can, sand it down and start feathering it so that way it'll come out smooth. And again, just work this metal to come up as best as I can, and then do a skim of body filler on top to, again, make it look good but also last. All right, once you have all the pie cuts done, I mean, you can grab a hammer or you can grab anything that can grab the metal, and then you're gonna just start bending everything up so that way it meets right here. So the reason you want to do this is you want it to mate up with where the opening is from where you made the initial cut. And then from there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna run seam sealer all through this and through any additional cuts we made. Same, I also just kind of pile it in right there just to give it a cleaner look. So, and then once you do that, you'll come across again with the angle grinder and you'll cut all these tabs right off. and that's gonna give you a cleaner look. All right, once we get here again, this is where I see a lot of people when they do their wide body kits. I don't want to say do it wrong, but not do it the best way that they can. What a lot of people will do from here is just bend these tabs upward, put a self-tapping screw through there, and call it a day. That's, I mean, I don't think it's the cleanest work. So what you want to do at this point, grab your hammer and just start hammering until you can get it nice and flush up against the quarter panel. Once you do that, go ahead and grab all your tabs. Looks like I had some left over from the quarter panel there. Go ahead and grab all your tabs and just kind of straighten them out so they're not in the way. And then from here is where we're gonna grab our seam sealer. So I don't use anything special. Honestly, I picked this stuff up from AutoZone. It's called a Dynatron Seam Sealer Gray. It's, again, nothing super fancy. I think it cost me $17 before tax. So you're gonna need a caulking gun to be able to lay down that bead. I also recommend putting on gloves. I don't have any gloves, I kind of ran out. And also a little bit of water too. Dip your fingertip in the water so that way you can glass out that bead and make it look nice. So we're gonna go grab a little bit of water. I don't have any gloves, but you'll see what I mean here in just a minute. Actually, before we start laying down the seam sealer, another thing that you need to do, I forgot about this step, is you actually should sand all the paint off. Try and get down to bare metal as much as you can, so that way it can adhere properly. You put it down to some regular paint, especially if it's dirty, it may not adhere properly. So we're gonna grab some, all I have is 100 grit, so it might take us a minute. So we're gonna sand it down with 100 grit just to try and get down to bare metal, so that way we can make a proper adhesion. And then from there, once you do that, lay down the seam sealer and cut off the tabs. Grab yourself some primer sealer. You can pick this stuff up at just O'Reilly's or AutoZone. It's like 12 bucks a can. That way it can, again, seal that off and prevent any moisture from coming in. And it just kind of gives a little bit better look. And if you really want to, make it look even better, tape off where you're putting that bead of seam sealer, and also tape off when you're laying down primer sealer, so that way it just kind of gives a little bit of a cleaner look. All right, hopefully in your case you're running into a lot less issues like I am. It's gonna take too long to sand down to bare metal. This is all Bondo, and you can see down in here it craters in. I spent a little bit of time on this one and we're still not able to get down to bare metal, but at least it's nice and scuffed. It's a pretty rough area, so it should adhere properly. Let's go ahead and clean it up before we start masking it off and laying down our seam sealer. All right, so that's how you put on the seam sealer. Again, that's why you want to bring a little bit of water, dip your finger in the water, and see these little like boogers right here. You can just kind of smooth them out and make them look just a little bit better. Okay, so now we're gonna wait for that to dry. And then as soon as it's done drying, we can come through and knock out all these tabs. All right, once you get to this point, don't you worry, we're gonna clean this up, make it look a little bit better. One part a lot of people miss when they do this is actually filling in the inside cuts. So we can see like, let's see if we can get that focus, right there, there's a couple cuts that go inside into the quarter panel. Other than that, everything else is pretty sealed up. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is just fill those in. All right, now that we have all that sealed up, now we just gotta wait. Again, it's a 30-minute wait. After that, we're gonna hit it with some sealer primer, and then we'll be good to go to mount the flare. All right, now that that's dried, we went ahead and pulled the tape off of it. What I'd recommend when you're gonna do some primer sealer is, if, again, just with any painting, if you go to paint it on something that hasn't been scuffed, it's gonna run, it's gonna have fish eyes, it's just not gonna adhere properly. So grab yourself a little bit of sandpaper. This is a used 400 grit disc. And you're just gonna wanna scuff the areas just enough for it to be able to adhere properly. So let's go ahead and scuff these guys up. All right, just like that, we laid down a little bit of primer sealer, and from here, it's basically done. So from this point now, we can go ahead and mount the fender flare itself. All right, now that we have all of those drilled through, we'll go ahead and pop the fender flare off, and now we can see where our holes are and be able to drill them out to the proper size. You can see they're all marked now, and now we'll be able to go back in there with the proper size drill bit. That way we can mount these the right way. All right, now once we've drilled out all the holes and stepped it up to the larger drill bit, we can start putting our hardware in. Don't worry, we're not just gonna stick some bolts in there and call it a day. Once the car is actually painted, we'll throw in some rib nuts and actually put in the hardware we're gonna run. Right now, we're just gonna throw in some miscellaneous hardware I have laying around, just to kind of get that completed look. Once we're done with that, we'll mount the rear bumper and we'll see how it looks. All right, and just like that, that's how you install the ASM style rear over fenders. Now there's gonna be some areas, especially since we don't have the finished hardware in, so it's not sucked in all the way. But for example, like this gap right here, that's where you get some of that, it's like this T trim. It's this rubber like trim, like it's like weatherproofing trim that will basically, anything that's gapped up will actually make it sit flush against the quarter panel. My car specifically, if you run your hands across through here, you'll actually feel a slight dent in this area, so that's why it's not sitting all the way flush. Something else you can do too is grab a heat gun and just, since this is ABS plastic, you can actually heat it up and press it in, so that way it can kind of form to the shape of your quarter panel. So from here, let's mount the rear bumper back up and throw the wheel on and essentially see what the finished product would look like. All right, and once you're done, it should look something like this. Again, the way I do it doesn't necessarily have to be the way you do it. I feel like this is the easiest way to do it with easily accessible material. As you can see, it's all nice and flush. The fitment for these honestly is really well. I lined this up the best way that I could, and I feel like it fits pretty dang good for the price. These ASM style over fenders are actually on eBay. I bought these for, I think it was $65. So I'm pretty impressed with how they fit. So a couple of things you can do if you have an S2000 for the rear bumper. You can see the line right here isn't the greatest. If you want it to sit flush to the over fender, you can actually, what I did is drilled a hole on the bottom of the over fender, ran the zip tie through there. If not, you can actually push all this in to sit on the clips, but there's gonna be a hang off from here to here. With ASM, with these, the authentic rear ASM flares, the way they're meant to be is you're supposed to have the ASM rear bumper that would essentially have the extension of this flare going down the rear bumper. That is in the works. It's kind of the goal we want. We want the ASM rear bumper on this car too. But for now, this is just what we're gonna have to make do with. But yeah, so from here, you just basically got to repeat those same steps on the other side. It's gotten pretty dark. It's nighttime now, so I'm gonna end the video here. Again, this isn't meant to be a video to show the perfect way or the right way of doing it. This is just more for if you're looking to do something like this, if you want to wide body your car, throw fender flares, whatever it is, this is a way that you can do it in a cost-effective, affordable, and easy to access manner. Again, the seam sealer that we got we got it from AutoZone. It was $17 before taxes. I would recommend buying 2 of them. You're gonna use about 1 bottle of it per side, so I would definitely recommend getting 2 of them. If your wide body is plastic or even FRP, so fiberglass, right, you are able to heat it up and kind of manipulate it a little bit. If it's plastic, you can, you know, really go to town with it. If it's FRP, you're not gonna get much adjustability or flexibility out of it, so just be warned. So try and line things up as best as you can. That way it will fit the best way it possibly can. But yeah, the S2000 is coming along. We have the front J's racing style fenders that we still need to work on, but now we have the ASM style rear flares. So basically all we're missing from this point is some mirrors. And yeah, once we get that and work on all the body work, then we're ready for paint. So thanks again for tuning in, guys. Again, I apologize, it's been a minute since my last post. Life's just been crazy busy. Don't mind the mess in the garage. I've just been so busy with different projects and I haven't had the chance to clean it. But yeah, stick along. I think the next video, we're gonna go ahead and do those hood pins that we've been talking about for a while now and start working on that front end. I already have tires for these wheels, so I need to go get those mounted as well. But once we have everything mounted and everything fitting properly, I think we're gonna go take this thing for a little rip. It's been a while since we've driven it, and yeah, once it's all complete and ready for paint, we might as well just start driving it again. So stay tuned, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends, and we'll see you on the next one.